Hello, this is Joanne Hewins from lovetocreate.typepad.com, and today I want to talk to you about how to make this card. This card was influenced by Sue Moore, and I just wanted to show you how I went about doing the leaves and the apple and making all that. So today the stamp set that we're going to use is from the Stampin' Up! Annual Catalog. It's called Picked for You, and it's a new one for me, and I hadn't used it before until I made this card. I'm trying to challenge myself to use some of the stamp sets that I have and haven't used at all. So we are going to be using this stamp set, and we're also going to be using several framelit sets. So we're going to use the Seasonal Layers Thinlits for the branch. And in fact, in the interest of time, I went ahead and cut out the branch. It's this piece right here, and I cut that out of soft suede cardstock. So that's all we're going to need from that framelit set. We're also going to be using the Rectangle Stitched Framelits. We're going to be using the number 2 in from here and the number 5 in from here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to pull those aside because we'll go ahead and cut that in just a minute. And then from the Stitched Labels Framelits, we're going to be using this one in just a few minutes. So I'll just pull it out also. The paper that we're going to be using is celebration paper. It's the Painted Seasons. The pack has these 4 designs, and then here's the flip side of those, and these are the sides that, I hate to say it, but the sides I like best. And we're going to be using this Pool Party sheet and the Call Me Clover sheet for our card today. So we are going to start out with a card base, let me pull it over here, of thick Whisper White. This is cut 4 1/4 by 11. I scored it here at 5 1/2. For this thick paper, it really is better to use your score tool and get that scored. And then I'm going to use my bone folder to make my crease good and dark. And then I've pulled out this Pool Party piece. That's what it looks like on the back. And I have cut this the same size as my card base. So it is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And I am actually going to put some glue on the back of this. I think the glue sticks it really well, and it also gives us a little bit of wiggle room to make sure that we have it just the way we need it. So I'm going to put that across the top and see if I can line that up as good as I can. So there's the front of the card. Isn't that pretty? And the paper's free. I don't mind using that extra 1/4 of an inch over here over the regular 4 we would use because, hey, I got this for free. Now you can get the paper along with the Painted Season stamp set with a $100 purchase for celebration, or you can get just the paper with a $50 purchase from celebration. So pretty good. I'm going to pull in this piece of paper for my frame, and I'm going to pull in a scrap piece of paper and my Cherry Cobbler ink for the saying that's on the front of this card. Now this is great for teachers, but I'm choosing to not make it for a teacher and just for a friend. So this saying says, I couldn't have picked a better friend. And I have that on my block. And some scrap Whisper White. And we'll just go ahead and stamp that in the center. and then we can do our frame and our saying at the same time. So I'm going to move this a little to the side and move this so that I can pull in my big shot. And on my big shot, I have the base plate, the big shot platform, the thin die adapter, my clear plate, and then I'm going to put down my rectangle framelits. And I just want to lay one right inside the other and try to make that in there evenly. And then I'll get my other clear plate. Here it is. I don't know about you guys, I just seem to misplace things right in front of my face all the time when I'm stamping. So I'm going to do that back and forth a couple times, and we'll check and see if we've got our ends cut well. Yeah. So there's that. And then I also want to pull in my saying. I want to frame that with the piece from the Stitched Labels. And we'll go ahead and run that back and forth. And that should be everything that we need from the big shot. So let me move it back out of the way. Oops. So we have our label, we have our branch, we have our frame, and our base. So I want to make sure that the top of the base is the way it needs to be before I start attaching things. And I'm just going to use my snail on this frame and just glue it right down to the base of the card front. And I'm going to try to center that as best I can and get it as straight as I can. And I am using the lines in this herringbone to help me a little bit with that. All right, and now I'm ready to add my branch. I'm going to use my glue for that and try to be sparing. And attaching or putting the glue on there. This would be a great piece to use your multi-purpose adhesive sheets with and turn that branch just right into a sticker. That would be great. So I'm going to add this to the card, and I'm just going to kind of start it at the top and angle it down. All right, and now I'm ready to do my leaves. For the leaves, I'm using the Lemon Builder Punch, and I'm going to need 10 leaves because I'm going to put some in the inside. And I wanted to punch those for you because I wanted to show you how I could do that and not really waste very much paper. So there's 4, 6, 8, and 10. I thought doing that out of the paper added just a little bit of something maybe unexpected. So I'm going to pull my leaves aside from the trash. And we'll work on attaching those. And for my leaves, I used glue dots and I used dimensionals to help me put those on. So I've got my glue dots. I've got some pieces of dimensionals here, and I've got my tool. So what I'm going to do is just kind of start up at the top, and I'll put my glue dot down there. And if you want a little bit of curve to your leaves, you can just add that with your bone folder. Now I know that if I mail this, it's probably not going to keep that curve to it, but I just love the way all that looks with a little bit of extra on there. So I'm going to just keep adding. Now this is going to take a little while. I'm afraid the video may turn into a rather long one, but we'll just kind of attach, and maybe I won't go through all of that, but it's a kind of a glue dot, a dimensional. Sorry, I can't get in there to get that. Just had my nails done and I can't do a thing with them. Okay, but we'll just kind of add that. That one's going to go kind of where my apple is going to go. And I may just do this one kind of flat. There. Speed up by doing, oops. Maybe that's not a way to speed up. It's just kind of fun to play with the height of things, the dimension of things, and it makes your card a little bit more interesting when you do that. Slip that up under there a little. It really is hard to pick things up with your fingers sometimes after you've had your nails done. Well, actually the whole time. And then I'm going to put these more down in here. Okay. Then for the words, I'm going to also add those with dimensionals. And I'm getting close to the end of this pack. I hope you all use the outside edges of your dimensionals. You have to. So I'm going to go ahead and put that down here. Oops. And with a piece of the Call Me Clover Grow Grain, I'm just going to tie a little knot in that and add that with the glue dot to the front. Now this glue dot's a little bit bigger than my knot, so I'm just going to fold it back a little bit, kind of put that right in there, and then we'll just trim that. And then we're ready just to do the apple. And of course the apple is the most challenging part of the card. So let me set this aside for a few minutes and say to you that the apple in the stamp set is actually a 4-part stamping. We've had 3-part stamping, but this is the first time I've had a 4. So you have the 3 apple pieces and you have the core. And I'm normally would go ahead and have this put on the Stamparatus, but I'm going to attempt to show you how to piece that together so that you have the whole apple. So let me also show you that on this stamp set, I don't know if you can see it, but it's numbered a 1, this one has 2, this one has a 3, and this one has a 4. It also has a little V shape at the top, so you'll know which way it goes. So I'm going to start with number 1. On my Stamparatus, I have my sponge, because this is a photopolymer stamp set, and I'll bring in my plate. And you want to use scrap paper to help you with this. I have a piece of this measured paper that I'm going to use as my scrap paper for this. So I'm going to, I'm actually going to do this on the center of what we cut out before. So I'll place that, place my magnet, and place that on there. And then I'll shut that. Okay, and for this one, I'm going to pull that out and just use the scrap. I'm going to start with real red. So I'm going to ink that up in my real red and stamp. Okay. Now I'm going to turn this around. I'm going to get my number 2 piece from the stamp set, which is this one, and I want to match it to the one that I've already done. So I'm going to try to stand up. It's kind of hard to see from where you are, and I'm using these lines right in there to help me match that with what's already there. I think that might work. So I'm going to pull in my cherry cobbler and ink that up. I think that looks great. How exciting! I'll pull this plate out, and I'm going to put in another plate. I could have done it from the top. I just like to work from the side. I'm going to get the piece that is number 3. Sorry, I'll just pull that off. The number 3 piece. And I'm going to place that down on here. Let me stand up again. And place that where I think it will work. And we're going to ink that up with lovely lipstick. Okay, I think I'm pretty happy with the way that looks. And then the last piece is the stem. So we're going to take this. I moved around again the plate, and this little V is going to go up at the top. So I'm going to place that where I think it needs to be. Keep all that pushed up to the corner, and we'll ink this up with soft suede. Alright, so I think that will work pretty well. I see the people are out working in my yard, so we will ignore that noise. And we're going to go ahead and put in a new grid sheet from my Stamparatus, my white piece of paper, and my magnet. Okay. And what I'm going to do is a little bit of an experiment while I'm working on this. I'm going to bring back the first piece that we did, and I'm going to stamp it, and I'm all on the white. I'm also going to stamp it on our watercolor paper, and we'll see how all of that works. I started with the real red. Now I'm just going to leave that there and bring in the watercolor for a moment and do that in the real red. Okay. Then we'll turn around the pad there, and I will ink up the next one in Cherry Cobbler. And then I'm going to go ahead and bring in the watercolor paper and do it in Cherry Cobbler. Okay, I'll bring in my other plates. I'll just leave the watercolor paper there, and we're going to go ahead and do the lovely lipstick. I'm going to pull that out, and I have my other paper, and we'll do again the lovely lipstick. And then we'll turn it around and do the stem and our soft suede. Now it doesn't really matter that we have those lines there, because I'm going to cut this out, and then we'll do the stem on the watercolor paper. And I just want us to look and see which one of these we like the best. So that worked out fine. So here's the watercolor paper, and here's the Whisper white paper. And what I'm going to do is bring in my aqua painter, and I'm going to paint over the reddish colors of both of these. Now, for the regular Whisper white paper, I don't want to go over this a lot, because it's not really made for water. And if you go over it a lot, it's going to pill up. But I just wanted to see how it would do to maybe meld those colors together a little bit. So that's how that one looks. And then let's go over to the watercolor. And I'm going to try to stay out of the brown and just color over the inside of the apple. So which one are you liking best? So you can see this 4-step process isn't as hard as maybe you might look at the stamp set and think that it would be. So there's our 2 apples, and I'm going to run my aqua painter over some scrap to make sure I don't have pink left in there. And what we have left to do with the outside, for the outside of our card, is just to cut our apple out. For this one, I used the regular Whisper White. So I think for this other one, I'm going to go ahead and cut out the watercolor apple, and we'll use it. So I'm just going to cut, I'm going to leave a little bit of a border around the outside of that. And I didn't really use a lot of water, so this has dried pretty quickly. And let me pull in some more of my dimensionals. For the back of this. Okay. And I'm going to put my apple just, might move that just a little. Just right in here. So there's the two cards. Okay, and then for the inside of this, I have a strip of the same cardstock that's on the outside. And this one's probably going to be too long. I know it'll be too long. And let me show you that I'll line mine up on my grid paper to help me to decide how to put this on to get it straight. And then I'm just going to turn this over and cut the excess off. That way I know that it is perfect in size. I'm going to add my two leaves. I'll just put a little bit of snail on there. And then we're going to stamp the saying, which is, "You are terrific to the core." We're going to do that in cherry cobbler. And I'm probably going to wish I had done that first. I do suggest that you do your stamping and then do your other decorating, just in case. So I'm going to try to center that. And there you are. Yay! So here are our two cards. This one has the watercolor paper apple. This one just has a Whisper White apple. And you can see it really, I think, looks like a difficult card. It really isn't that difficult. If you need any supplies, you can get those from me at lovetocreate.typepad.com. I'll also link on this video to my online store. I'm Joanne Hewins. I would love to be your demonstrator. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.